Out of the 62,000 public primary schools, 68% lies in the north. So we see a disparity, which makes it almost impracticable for that judgment that Mr. Olisa Agbakoba won to be implemented. 68% of public primary schools are in the north. He had also talked about gender equality. However, there are only 2 states out of all the 19 states, only 2, where the enrollment of girls in public primary schools is higher than the enrollment of boys. Only 2, Kogi and Plateau. Every other state has significantly higher enrollment figures of boys than girls in public primary schools. And that is why we say there's a great conundrum in the educational sector. Because even a recent judgment, just 2 months ago, I said the Universal Basic Education Act of 2004 makes it compulsory for all children to have basic primary education and junior secondary school education. But based on the distribution of our school system, it doesn't make it practical.
Now let's go into this growth in public primary school attendance. We see that of a dichotomy between the north and the south.
Yes, so we see we've got 23 million students in primary schools. 23 million. And we've seen that majority of that comes of students that's in the north. But that is just one challenge, Chamberlain. The second challenge is the enrollment in schools is on the decline. So in 2013, for instance, we had 24.1 million public primary school students. That has declined to 23.1 million.
Why?
Now, the evidence shows that decline, unlike what many people think, is because a lot of students in the southern region drop out of school. So the final analysis and the narrative is, in the north, it is hard to get students into school in the north. In the south, it is hard to get students to stay in school.
That's a good place to go on a short break, and we'll be back and continue from where we stopped.
Welcome back. Well, let's take a look at this other slide which speaks about the dimension and then the number of children in public schools. This is disturbing, really. Maybe we should talk about it, because we see the primary school enrollment 23.1 million, and then the secondary school enrollment 4.4 million. Wait a minute, we have this is huge dichotomy here. What's going on?
And it's because there are 2 problems. The first is the rate at which students move from primary school to secondary school is extremely low. So 23.1 million students in primary school, and then public junior secondary school, only 4.4 million. So what the narrative means is a lot of students drop out after primary school.
18.7 million?
Oh yes.
So what do they go into?
Wow.
All sort of things. Menial jobs, trade, working at home, staying at home. But all of this is also very consistent with even how the NBS describes it, saying we've got 81 million Nigerians in today's labor force, but more than half have at best a primary school leaving certificate. It's all consistent. More than half of those in the labor force have at best a primary school leaving certificate. They say only 15% of those in today's labor force have a post-secondary school degree.
But wait, could this mean that of this 18.7 million who are not taking it further and going into secondary school, could they be going to, public secondary school? Could they be going to private secondary school?
No, the evidence doesn't suggest that. Because even the evidence from primary school suggests and clearly shows that 89%, approximately 9 out of 10 primary school students in the country attend public primary schools. Wow. So families are not sending their children to private schools because they can't afford it.
Up north? Or generally?
Generally, all around the country. Look at it in this way. We've got 62,000 public primary schools, but we've got only 11,600 public secondary schools. So even by design, it makes it look like the government doesn't even encourage students or create the opportunity to come into public secondary school. And like I said, 62,000 public primary schools, that's a high number. But then public junior secondary schools, only 11,600. So the design perhaps even suggests that once you're done with primary school, you should end it. But what is, before we close, we should also recognize is that let's look at the capital budget in the proposed 2017 document for education, the capital budget for education, 50 billion naira for everybody. 50 billion naira sounds like a huge sum. However, the budget for presidential amnesty, 65 billion naira. And so today's budget for presidential amnesty is higher than the capital budgets for the Ministry of Education for all the country. And in the final analysis, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. We keep trying to repair broken men, Frederick Douglass.
You know, it raises a lot more concern when you look to the Constitution and you see the qualification to go for some of these very high public offices is primary school certificate. It won't encourage people to take it further. Well, that's certainly more food for thought. Babajide Ogunsanwo, our data and information analyst, thank you for coming on this morning. Well, that's the show today and the week, as a matter of fact, and what a week it's been. And we thank you for letting us be a part of your week. We'll see you next time.
It's Friday?
Also. Yes, it is.
It's Friday, indeed. Just stay safe. I'm Gimba Umar.
You need to double check, Gimba. Oh, well, I'm sure it's Friday. See you later on Hot Coffee Tonight. I'm Maufwe Ogun. Thank you for watching.